It was a night no one anticipated coming, at least not like this. Social media erupted as fans were slammed with jaw-dropping information that no one could have anticipated, not even in their wildest realistic fantasies. A secret private film starring Yandandy Smith and a behind-the-scenes cast staff member has purportedly been released. Rashida, Yandy's longtime friend turned frenemy, allegedly released the bombshell tape that's currently circulating. While admirers raced to authenticate the film, the streets of Atlanta were already buzzing. Within hours, whispers turned into headlines. Hashtag Yandandy exposed and hashtag Rashi were trending across all media. But it wasn't just the fans losing their heads. Mendeecees apparently had a complete meltdown after viewing the video. According to close sources, he yelled, broke his phone, and walked out of the set, refusing to record another second. Was this a betrayal of friendship, premeditated retribution, or a heartbreaking mistake gone public? And why would Rashida risk everything to reveal something so personal? This controversy isn't simply upsetting the basis of a relationship, breaking apart a circle of friends, turning trust into turmoil, and leaving fans wanting answers. And believe us, it just gets wilder from here. It all started with a single notice, ding that shattered everything Yandy had tried so hard to guard. She had just finished shooting for the day, her energies exhausted and her thoughts confused when she checked her phone. What she saw made her heart stop. A brief video clip transmitted from an unknown number, showing her with a crew member in a compromising moment. Her hands shook as she watched it, reliving the brief seconds that would soon shatter her world. Thought it was some sort of twisted prank, a deep fake maybe. But no, it was genuine. The perspective, lighting, and sound were clear. Someone had been watching, someone had taped them, and now someone had released it. A few hours later, social media was on fire. Every gossip website, fan forum, and blog had the identical title blasted over their feeds. Yandandy Smith caught on video an intimate moment with crew member. The take was just 45 seconds long and has already been seen over 2 million times. We're astonished. Some defended her by calling it false, but others filled the comments with betrayal, wrath, and disappointment. Hashtags began trending. The internet was not going to let this one go. It wasn't just the video. It was the charge that Rashida, one of Yandy's best buddies turned sometimes companion, was the one who leaked it. The concept appeared ridiculous to some, but to others who knew the history between the two ladies, it made perfect sense. Behind the scenes, tensions have been building for months, little hasts of harsh words, some shade during confessionals, and a developing feeling of rivalry had produced a dense cloud of unresolved hostility between them. Rumors began to circulate about how Rashida had obtained the film. Some suggested a jealous crew member handed it to her. Others said she'd been sitting on it for weeks, waiting for the ideal opportunity to unleash it. Regardless mattered the truth, the impact was the same. Yandandy was humiliated. Mendeecees had just returned from a business trip when he found out. He entered through the entrance of their house, anticipating a calm evening with his family, but was instead faced with mayhem. His phone was filled with messages from friends, coworkers, even his mother. He clicked on the video, his expression went blank. Silence filled the room. Yandandy attempted to explain, but the words would not come out. All she could do was weep, her voice trembling as she mumbled, "It's not what it looks like." Men's didn't utter a thing. He only gazed at her eyes full of amazement and pain. Something else, fury, not the type of fury that erupts, but the kind that simmers cold and deadly. He turned aside, grabbed his keys, and went out the door without saying anything. Yandandy dropped into the sofa, her entire body shivering. She knew she screwed up, but she didn't know how deep the harm would spread. Outside, paparazzi had already gained wind of the issue. Photographers camped outside their house, hoping for a peek of the consequences. Fans congregated in the comments of Yandy's recent post demanding answers. Rashida remained abnormally silent, with no remarks, interviews, or even a mysterious Instagram post. Some assumed her silence was due to remorse, while others said it was, but behind the scenes, Rashida was dealing with her own turmoil. According to an insider, Rashida never meant for the video to become public. She got it from a trustworthy member of the production team and had shown it to just one person, a lifelong friend who had always been faithful. But that buddy, motivated by clout or curiosity, leaked it to the when Rashida discovered this. She was enraged, but the harm had already been done. The world thought she was the one who exposed Yandy, and no amount of denial would alter that. Still, a part of Rashida didn't remorse. Deep down, she thought Yandy had it coming. Their relationship had become poisonous, full of backhanded compliments and secrets. Competition. Maybe this was karma finally catching up. Maybe now everyone would realize who Yandy really was. Or maybe it was simply a bad misunderstanding spinning out of hand. That followed. The whole cast of the program found themselves drawn into the drama. Some openly backed Yandandy, saying the footage was old or altered, while others dissented completely. Producers convened emergency meetings to discuss if production should be delayed. The network was worried. Advertisers threatened to walk out. Lawyers were engaged. Things were getting nasty. Despite all of this mayhem, the mystery of what actually transpired in that trailer lingered. According to Yandandy, the film was a setup. She said a production member had urged her to examine a scene privately, and the clip was manipulated to make it look more private than it was. She even implied that someone had it out for her, though she stopped short of naming names. Her team released a short statement encouraging fans should not leap to conclusions, but it scarcely made a difference in the public view. Mendeecees still hadn't come home. Rumors put him in a hotel across town, while others suggested he was staying with family. One insider said he had already talked to a divorce attorney, while another said he merely wanted room to reflect. Whatever the case, his silence spoke eloquently. Fans who had adored them for years, the pair had been divided, uncertain who to trust. Some blamed Yandandy completely, while others questioned whether she had a role in it, implying additional influence behind the scenes. The staff member in the video had already been sacked. The network released a discreet statement blaming policy infractions, but everyone knew the actual reason. He attempted to explain himself by saying close friends that nothing occurred and that he was being exploited as a scapegoat. But once your name is linked to a controversy like this, there's no turning back. His reputation was in ruins. Yandandy, locked in her house and overcome with humiliation, attempted to hold it together for the sake of her children. She ignored the news, switched off her alerts, and spent hours grieving in secret. Every knock at the door made her jump, and every message sent her plummeting. She phoned Mendeecees over and again, leaving voicemails full of apologies and frantic appeals, but never reacted. Then one night, 3 days after the video surfaced, Yandy received a call from an unknown number. Her hands trembled as she took up. The voice on the other end was low and steady. It was Mendeecees. He didn't rant or accuse. He just stated, "We need to talk, and I'm coming home." And that's precisely when things got worse. Because what Mendeecees saw when he went through that door wasn't just a broken wife or a wrecked marriage. He found something much more unexpected waiting for him. Something that would BC came inside the home with a heavy heart, his strides hesitant and his mind racing. He maintained his distance for days, attempting to make sense of everything to quiet the tempest roaring inside him. But when he saw Yandy again sitting on the sofa with red eyes and tear-streaked cheeks, the weight of she glanced up, startled at the sound of the door, and for a time they simply gazed at one another. No words, no explanations, just raw, painful stillness. Eventually his voice was icy but controlled. "Where are the kids?" he questioned. Yandy answered gently, "I don't want them to see me like this." He nodded, still hesitating near the entrance, as if uncertain if he really wanted to enter the room entirely. Yandy rose up slowly, her hands fumbling, looking for anything to latch onto. Anything that would make this seem less like a nightmare. Mendeecees, can we just? Please let me explain everything. He raised a hand, cutting her off. "I'm here. Aren't I talking?" She swallowed hard and began to speak, her voice wavering. "I promise we were analyzing a scenario, and I had no idea someone was filming. It was taken out of context." He cocked his head, his face. "You honestly want me to think that after all we've gone through, everything we've achieved, You simply happened to be captured on camera, and in a private moment, by mistake, Yandy's eyes filled with new tears. I confess that I should have known better, but I didn't do anything with him. Nothing occurred, means nothing. He gave out a bitter chuckle and eventually walked farther. Entered the room. You think I care about technicalities. You think this is about whether you kissed him or not. The trust is destroyed. Yandandy. The whole world watched that video before I even knew it existed. Do you know how it feels? She attempted to approach him, but he backed back. Please don't push me right now. Meanwhile, the internet was still ablaze with fans dissecting every frame of the leaked video, comparing clothing timestamps and audio levels. Some self-proclaimed detectives built elaborate hypotheses claiming the video was really filmed months earlier, while others noted to backdrop indications that linked it to a recent shot. Hashtags like #Team Yandandy and #Rashida betrayed inundated Twitter, with each side fervently defending their version of the facts. Rashida was ready to speak out behind the scenes. Her quiet had been deafening, and even her own fan following was becoming restless. She'd been dubbed everything from a snake to a genius by individuals, accusing her of wrecking another woman's life out of sheer envy. And although she hadn't verified or disputed anything yet, she was quite aware of the narrative spiraling out of control. Late that night, Rashida went live on Instagram. Her face was naked, her expression stern, and her tone unshaken. I've been silent long enough, she started. You want to know the truth, so here it is. I didn't leak the video. However, I did see it before it got public, and someone close to me had access to it. Comments erupted fast, but she did not hesitate. I made the mistake of trusting someone who I believed had my back. They betrayed me and Yandandy by posting it to a blog without. Rashida moved closer, her voice lowering. What nobody's telling you is what occurred after the video was filmed, since it wasn't just some crew member review session. There's more. If Yandandy doesn't come clean, I may just have to do it for her. The internet lost its mind within minutes. Clips of Rashida's live were being posted across every platform. Bloggers speculated wildly about what else she may be alluding to. Was a second tape? Others think Yandandy had admitted something off camera that Rashida was now holding over her head. The mystery intensified, as did the public's fixation. Yandandy sat in front of the television, hands covering her mouth, watching Rashida's life. Oh my God, she moaned. She's going to wreck everything. Mendeecees sat across the room, arms crossed and gaze strained. What is she talking about, Yandandy? What else is there? Yandy's heart hammered. This was the moment she had hoped wouldn't arrive. The portion of the narrative no one else knew about, since what had occurred in that trailer hadn't finished when the camera stopped filming. Later that night, a crew member named Devin approached her. He told her he had emotions for her and couldn't keep pretending it was just business between them. Yandandy. Devin had cut him down instantly, telling him it was unacceptable because she loved her spouse. Instead of stepping off, Devin had began coming up unannounced, emailing her at weird hours, even making covert threats. She had kept it all to herself, expecting it would pass away. She didn't want to generate trouble on work or raise further friction with males. But now that the tape has been out and Rashida is hinting at more secrets, she knew it wouldn't remain concealed for long. Men's pressured her again. What happened, Yandandy? Don't lie to me. She glanced up at him, her eyes full of agony. He'd attempted to blackmail me, she said. He claimed he had additional recorded talks that could destroy the both of us. I implored him to leave me alone, but he wouldn't stop. Mendeecees rose up quickly and paced the room. You let someone harass you, and you didn't tell me. I was terrified, she wept. Terrified of what you think, scared of making it worse. I believe I could manage it. You should have trusted me. How can I protect you if you keep keeping things from me? Outside the house, paparazzi flashes reappeared. Someone had given them off that Mendeecees was back home. They swarmed the driveway, trying to catch the next dramatic scene in this unraveling tale. Inside, the pair stood in the eye of the storm, their marriage dangling by a thread, but the mayhem wasn't over yet. As they began to confront the reality, a fresh leak appeared that would draw another cast member into the flames and drive the whole love and hip-hop set into extreme disarray. began with a single anonymous email. As Guys DC sat there gazing at the phone in astonishment, the facts started to seep in. This wasn't simply a simple mistake, devised scheme to break his family apart, and everything he thought he knew was immediately in doubt. Yandy, similarly shocked, was pacing back and forth attempting to understand what had just transpired. The video, the email, the phone call from Rashida, everything appeared to be related in ways none of them had anticipated. It was as if they were trapped in the center of a storm they couldn't escape, and each new piece of Yandandy eventually stopped pacing, took a deep breath, and glanced at Mendeecees. We need to act quickly. We can't allow this thing happen. Destroy us not when we're so near to all we fought for. Her voice was full of conviction, but the DCs could sense the terror beneath her words. He knew she was afraid, but so did he. You're right, he said, rising up. But who's behind all of this? I can't help but feel like we're being played by someone close to us. First Devin, Rashida, and now this. His words drifted off, his mind racing with possibilities. Yandandy shook her head, brushing away a tear, sitting about and waiting for someone to make the next move. We have to take charge. We need answers. Mendeecees nodded, agreeing with her. Yandy had no clue who they could trust anymore during the previous several days. It seemed like a maelstrom of lies, treachery, and betrayal, with each new revelation appeared to only make things worse. What if the person who is behind this is someone we trust the most? Yandy questioned gently. A concern hung in the air between them. What if someone in our own circle is working against us? Men's minds went directly to the people closest to them, family, friends, castmates. He pondered about their relationships and the instances they had discussed, the little things that may have been indicators, but he had missed them. May anybody in their tight circle have turned on them so totally? There's only one way to find out, he added, his voice firm. We need to dig further. Discover the facts and face whomever is behind this. They both knew it wasn't going to be simple. The further they went, the more hazardous it may get. There was no going back. Their lives were being ripped apart by falsehoods, and the only Yandandy sat down on the sofa, knowing that the only way to defend what they had accomplished was to disclose the truth at any cost. The weight of the situation pushed down on her. Her mind strayed back to the video Devin had provided. She recalled his arrogant smile as he spoke about manipulating Mendeecees, as if it was all part of some sick game. It made her stomach churn just thinking about it. But then she thought of the second email, which had been more enigmatic. The truth is out there, you just need to search in the appropriate spot. What did it signify, and who was behind it? It couldn't have been a coincidence. Devin and someone else, an unnamed person, were both participants in this web. Deception. Men could see the wheels moving in Yandy's head. What are you thinking? He said, his voice quiet. Yandandy glanced up at him, her face pallid, but determined. I believe this has been going on for longer than we know. I think Devin isn't just some random somebody who wants to drag us down. He is being exploited. He is a piece in a larger game. Mendeecees frowned, used by who. Yandy paused for a bit before saying, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling there's someone pulling the strings. Someone who knows us and has access to. They've been giving Devin information, influencing him, and using him to get at us. I'm not sure who it is, but I know it isn't simply Devin doing this on his own. Mendeecees ran a hand through his hair, fury swelling within him. So what do we do? Do we find out who's behind all of this? Yandandy took a long breath. We have to check about us. Our friends, family, and the individuals who have been closest to us. We must locate the connections, the secret alliances. Someone knows something but isn't saying. We need to get to the bottom of it. NBC jumped up and started pacing the room, trying to make sense of it all. We can't trust anybody longer. Every individual who being connected in our life might be a part of this hell. Even Rashida is part of the picture today. She knows more than. Yandandy nodded, her visage deepening. You're correct. She has been behaving as if she is on our side. Yet there is something odd about everything she says. She continues asking us to trust. But every time she talks, it seems like she's concealing something. They both sank into quiet as the weight of the situation became nearly overwhelming. It seemed as if everyone they knew had turned against them, and now they had to discover out who the true adversary was before it was too late. Yandy's phone rang again, and she peered down to see another email arrive, with the subject line, "You're being watched." He peered at her, his eyes tightening. "Open it." Yandandy hesitated. Then she opened the email. This time, the message was simple and chilling. "Stop digging, truth will ruin you both." The note was signed anonymously. Yandy, her hand trembling, moved the phone towards Mendeecees. He read the message on his face, stiffening. "This is it. We're not backing down now." Yandy took a deep no. "We'll find out who's behind this, and when we do, we're going to make them pay." Neither of them understood what the future contained. The path, the future was unknown, but they knew one thing for certain: the war had only just started. The world was watching, and they were determined to disclose the truth at whatever cost. With each new twist and revelation, the stakes appeared to only become higher. Finally, the issue remained: who could they trust, and who was tugging the strings from the shadows as the days passed? One loaded with greater stress than the previous. The problem had grown from a simple private video leak to full-fledged issue that threatened to ruin Mendeecees and Yan's life. The jump video wasn't only an embarrassment, it was a weapon, and whatever was behind it was using it to deconstruct all they had worked for at every corner. Turning only led to more questions and fewer solutions, and with each passing second, the weight of their problem Mendeecees got heavier as he sat at the kitchen table, anxiously banging on. Yandy stood near the window, peering into the distance with her thoughts clearly racing. It seemed like the world was closing in on them, and with each new danger, they felt more impotent. "We can't simply keep sitting here and waiting for the next onslaught," Mendeecees mumbled, breaking the stillness. Yandy turned to face him, eyes fatigued but full with purpose. "We can't afford to make a mistake, Mendy. Sees one incorrect move, and it's all over." Their relationship was once robust and full. Trust was now teetering on the verge. Yandandy, who was generally cool and collected, was becoming more agitated. Irritated by the day Mendeecees, ever the guardian, was upset because he couldn't shelter his family from the turmoil that seemed to follow them everywhere. "I'm not backing down, Yandy." Mendeecees, Yandandy nodded, but his voice was strong. "We need a definite strategy. Mendeecees, the only way we're going to figure out who's behind this." "Stop it." They had previously attempted to track the origins of the leaked film, but it seemed that whomever was behind it was always one step ahead. Anonymous emails, cryptic social media postings, and calls that came with nothing but threats had become their everyday reality. The more they probed, the more it seemed that they were burrowing into a trench with no bottom. The deeper they dug, the more they discovered how far this conspiracy extended. It wasn't simply about a video anymore. It was about control, manipulation, and power. "We need to speak to the ones closest to us," Yandy murmured, her voice quiet but resolute. "Somebody must have seen something." Men shook his head. "I'm not sure who we can trust anymore, Yandy. Even Rashida is in on it." The use of Rasheeda's name suggests that she is not innocent in all of this. Yandy's eyebrows narrowed. She had previously been a close friend, a confidant. Now, it seemed that she was part of the web that was catching them. The notion of treachery hurt more than Yandy was prepared to confess. "We can't rule anybody out," Yandy remarked gently. They didn't get away with it, however. The phone rang, and Mendeecees swiftly grabbed it up. There was a lengthy wait until a distorted voice answered. "You think you're in. You are not in charge. Keep pressing and you will regret it. The connection has gone dead." The party pounding. "They're monitoring us, Yandandy," he muttered, his voice strained. Yandy's expression hardened with a steely determination, taking control. "We will not back down. We'll locate them. We have to." It was becoming evident that this wasn't only. It was no longer about a video. It was about power, control, and the person behind Mendeecees and Yandy were only puppets in this perilous game. "Can't do this alone," Yandandy added. "We need to seek assistance. We need someone who can trust." But the trouble was they didn't know who they could trust anymore. Everyone in their network was a possibility, suspicious, and each fresh lead appeared to lead to additional questions. They decided to reach out to their closest pals, hoping that someone might throw light on what was occurring. Yandy phoned Amina, her sister, hoped she might provide some clarification. "Amina, we need your help," Yandandy remarked. Her voice was tinted with desperation. "Everything is coming apart, and we're not sure who to trust." Amina's Yandandy. "I've been hearing whispers about individuals in your network, but this is larger than just hearsay. You need to be cautious who you're working with." Yandandy agreed. "I understand." Her mind is racing, but we're running out of time. We need to act before it's too late. Menks was dealing with his own set of challenges. "I tried talking to a few individuals who may know anything, but every discussion appeared to go nowhere. They're all lying." Yandandy Mendeecees expressed irritation in his voice. "Everyone is concealing their tracks and we're left to pick up the pieces." Yandandy put a hand on his shoulder, attempting to provide consolation. "Figure it out together." But even as they sought to prepare their next move, the issue began to spin out of control. The media had a field day with the leak, and the public was devouring. Fans were stunned by the footage, and the suspicions surrounding Yandandy and Mendeecees were only growing worse. "This is," Yandandy stated, shaking her head as she read through the countless social media messages. "I can't even go out. I can be myself in public without feeling judged." Mendeecees tightened his fists in rage. "It's not fair, Yandy. We've worked so hard for this, and now it's all coming apart due of one person's sick game." As the days went, the tension between them increased. Were both under great strain, and every choice seemed to be the one that pushed them over the brink. The fear of future disclosures, further public humiliation, and the continual pressure from the media were taking their toll. Yandy whispered softly, "We've been through worse before. We need to stay strong, men, so we can manage anything." Men nodded, but the skepticism in his eyes was difficult to overlook. "I hope you are correct, Yandandy, but this seems different, like we are losing control of everything." They spent the next several days attempting to collect information and trace every lead and tried to fit together the parts of a jigsaw that seemed to have no answer. Exposed, they saw how far the plot stretched. They weren't simply fighting against an unknown hacker or an opponent. It seemed like they were up against a well-organized attempt to wreck their life. Despite all of this, one thing was clear: they were not going to back down, no matter how dirty or deadly things became. Mendeecees and Yandy realized they had to fight. The issue was, who were they really fighting against? The controversy surrounding the leaked film proceeded to occupy Yandandy and Mendeecees' life, making it more difficult to ignore the rising strain. Every day came new stories, speculations, and fresh allegations. They were locked in a never-ending loop of media hysteria. Their personal lives were exposed to the public. Men was becoming more annoyed with his protective impulses. Going into overdrive, he had always been the one to protect Yandy from the severity of the world, but this time they felt as if they were battling an invisible opponent. The more they attempted to fight back, the more the world looked to Yandandy, on the other hand, was straining to keep things together. Her typical serenity was sliding. The continual barrier of hatred and condemnation was taking its toll. Grief not just for herself but for her family. Her children had also become the public scorn, and media attention were difficult for them to ignore, and Yandy could feel she was doing all she could to keep strong for soldiers, VCs, and their families. However, when the cameras were not rolling and the lights weren't dazzling, the strain was tremendous. She would find herself tearing down in private. "How did we get here?" she would mutter to herself, looking at the phone that had once been a sign of their triumph and was now a tool for. Despite the emotional toll, they realized they had to keep pressing on. Giving up was not an option. They had too much at risk. Mendeecees had always been a fighter, and Yandandy, despite his exhaustion, vitality deep inside her. They had weathered many storms together in the past, and this one was no different, or so they kept telling themselves. The issue was, how would they survive? The anonymous information they got regarding Rashida served as both a lifeline and heavy weight Could it really be true that Rashida, of all persons, was engaged in this treachery? Yandandy was no stranger to drama. After all, being in public, the eye had its own set of issues. But this seemed like an altogether new level to believe that someone they had previously considered a friend might be capable of anything like this was nearly too much to take. How could she do this to us? Yandy mumbled, looking at the message from the anonymous tipster. We've known her for years. We've been through a lot together. Men's didn't spend any time. This changes everything, he remarked, his voice low and filled with wrath. If she is indeed responsible for this, we must face her. She cannot get away with it this time. He was. Yandandy nodded, her stomach churning at the notion of someone so near betraying them. We can't simply approach her without evidence, she murmured, trying to remain reasonable. We need to know for sure that she's behind this before we do anything. Mink shook his head. Right, but we can't let this drag on much longer. We need answers, and we need them now. They spent the next several days going into every trail, investigating every hint, and contacting anybody who could know something. It seemed like a labyrinth of lies and deception, with every step leading to more dead ends. But Yandandy and Mendeecees were determined. They weren't going to let the truth slip away. They owed it to themselves, their family, and their followers to discover out what occurred. As they continued their search, it became clear that Yandy was tired. She could hardly keep her eyes open at times, but she pushed through it since they couldn't afford it. Stop. Mendeecees too felt the weight of it all. He hadn't slept in days. The mind was continually racing with ideas of who may be behind this. We have to be smart about this, he informed Yandy. Night as they sat together reading over the evidence they had acquired. If we face her without the correct proof, could backfire on us. We need to make sure we have everything in order before we do anything. Yandy agreed. But how much longer can we keep doing this? Every day seems like a war, and I don't know how much more I can do. There was a softness in her voice that Mendeecees hadn't heard in a long time, and it crushed his heart. Could not allow himself crack. Not now, not when everything was on the line. We're in this together, Yandandy whispered quietly, grasping her hand in his. We'll get through. This is what we usually do. It was a few days later that they finally got a break. They had been waiting for a video supplied anonymously and delivered to their voyeur. The film was grainy and unclear, but it confirmed their suspicions. Was a tape of the night of the shooting of the notorious moment, and Rashida was in the background amid the mayhem, sitting with the crew member, exchanging glances and speaking. Though the footage didn't show her directly engaging in it, was evident that she had been part of the drama that had unfolded. This is it, Mind murmured, peering at the TV. This confirms she was involved, and we now have the necessary leverage. Yandy's heart sunk as she viewed the video. Is that enough? Will anybody trust us? What if this is just the beginning? Even worse, she couldn't escape the notion that they were still a long way from the conclusion of this nightmare. Going to sit around and wait for the world to determine what happens next. Mendeecees responded, We're going to fight back and make sure Rashida doesn't try to break us apart. Again, Yandy and Mendeecees decided to face Rashida. It would not be easy, but it was the only way they could retake their lives. The strain in their house was thick, and the atmosphere was filled with expectancy. They had no clue what would come next, but they knew Yandandy couldn't keep running away from the truth. It was time to face it straight on. The confrontation loomed ahead. Mendeecees readied themselves for whatever would come next. The storm had not yet passed, but they were finally eager to take charge of their own story. The drama surrounding Yandandy Mendeecees and Rashida has entirely startled viewers, and the twists and turns keep growing more dramatic. Just when we thought we understood what was going on, explosive facts continue to surface, and it seems that this narrative is far from done, and we're all on the edge of our seats waiting to see what happens next. The issue remains, can Yandy and Mendeecees come out on top, or will Rashida's alleged treachery break their family apart? Only time will tell, but we want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe Rashida is genuinely behind this startling leak, or is there more to the tale that hasn't been revealed yet? Could this be the end of their friendship? Still hoping for a reunion? How do you think Yandandy and Mendeecees will deal with this enormous betrayal? Please share your ideas with us in the comments below. We are interested to hear what you think, and if you feel they will make it through this controversy unharmed. If you've been following the drama, you know there's never a boring moment. The world of celebrity gossip. And if you don't want to miss a single update when new secrets are uncovered, be sure to click the like button and subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you will keep ahead of the game with the most startling wild rumors and behind-the-scenes gossip that you won't hear anywhere else. Make sure to touch the notification bell so you are alerted the instant we upload new material. Trust us, you don't want to miss what's coming next. We appreciate all of your support and are pleased to continue bringing you the largest stories from the world of entertainment. Your interaction helps us continue to develop and offer the stuff you want. Do not forget to like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Stay connected for future updates. As usual, thank you for being a part of our community. In the next video, we'll break down all of the newest and strangest developments on this continuing story.